Hello and welcome to Positively United. So Manchester United have chosen Michael Carrick as their head coach until the end of the season. Interesting that the official Manchester United announcement didn't mention the word interim. I don't know if we should read much into that. I personally do, and I actually think it's really good that they haven't used the word interim. I don't think anybody is expecting that Michael Carrick will be the head coach moving into next season, however well he does in what remains of this season. Excuse me. But why completely close off the possibility? So I think not using the word interim is a really sensible use of words. He's head coach until the end of the season, and at the end of the season, it's all up for grabs. That's how I'm reading that, which I think is really good. It means he starts the job without that inherent demotivation, I think, is there, of knowing that he is only and ever will be a temporary appointment. So I'm all in favour of that, and good on United for doing that, I think. In this video, I'd just like to say a few words about, I think, why Carrick has been chosen above Solskjaer, what changes I think Carrick can make and make them fast, and what would a positive success look like at the end of May. Because I think there is a definite positive possibility for the end of this season, which we should not discount or downplay. So why Carrick? Why not Solskjaer? Well, I won't retread an awful lot that has been spoken about in on other channels about that. I think what seems to have become increasingly clear is that perhaps the club were getting a little bit nervous about the reaction to reappointing Solskjaer. I think that's a possibility, a definite possibility, that going back was not the way that the fan base wanted to go. Whilst fans might be really cross and annoyed about where we are at the moment, going back in a nostalgic way might not have been the best route. Look, I'll put my cards on the table. I'd have loved to have seen Ollie back at the club as manager or head coach. I actually think he did really well in his first stint, and people think about that final season that ended in sacking. I really do not believe you can underestimate the impact that the re-signing of Cristiano Ronaldo had on that final season. Just as I don't want to get bogged down in that, but as a side issue, truly one of the worst decisions that modern Manchester United has ever made. A spiteful decision done just to spite Man City, who looked likely to be about to sign him. We couldn't bear that. We couldn't bear to see Cristiano Ronaldo go to City. Why did it bother us? Why were we concerned about that happening? Those are the times when, as a club, I think we let ourselves down. We shouldn't have re-signed Cristiano Ronaldo. He didn't fit in with the style of play that Solskjaer was putting together at United. He was too big a personality for that squad. We criticised the squad for lacking personality, and then you put someone with the ego the size of Cristiano Ronaldo in it. It was always going to be difficult. It was always going to be trouble. And I think Solskjaer ended up paying the ultimate price for that. And I felt sorry for him. And the romantic in me would have loved to have seen Solskjaer come back and put it all right. But it was not to be. Why wasn't it to be? Well, I think the first time Solskjaer was at the club as manager, it's pretty clear that what Solskjaer was the figurehead of a team. And that team was him, McKenna, and Carrick. So McKenna wasn't coming back because he's manager of Ipswich. It would appear that Carragher wasn't interested in being a number two. He wanted to be the number one. I fully respect that. He's managed Middlesbrough in the meantime. He's shown himself to be a good coach. At times you've got to put your foot down and you've got to say, look, this is how I value myself. This is where I see myself. If you don't tough, I'll walk away. And I think that's what Carrick did, and I fully support him in doing that. So Ollie and Carrick weren't going to get back together again. McKenna was out of it. So it appears very much as if the thinking was, which is the best of the two coaches out of these two? And that was always going to be Carrick. Plus the danger of the accusation of nostalgia with Solskjaer, the fact that it would appear that Solskjaer was saying, I really want the job as a permanent manager and I want a squad rebuild. We're hearing noises out today, it would appear from Ollie's camp, that was what the conversation was with the United hierarchy. It really seems that it just didn't fit. Solskjaer and United this time just didn't work. There would have been, of course, Ruud van Nistelrooy, but why would Ruud van Nistelrooy offer anything that Carrick didn't? Carrick at the end appears to have been the outstanding candidate. Not the only candidate, the outstanding candidate, and that's a difference. It's a positive difference. And so Carrick, in a sense, was the obvious choice at the end. And we need to get behind him. We really do. What's the signal about Carrick's appointment? Well, a lot of people have said that he's being appointed because he's a yes man. Well, it's a very odd way to show that you're a yes man, isn't it? By telling the club that you won't come in with their initially favoured candidate, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, as his number two. If he was a yes man, surely he would have said yes to that. I don't see any evidence that Carrick is a yes man. He's a quiet man. I think that's undoubtedly the case. I think it's documented that he's not the most ebullient of characters. He's not a very, perhaps, vocal character in front of camera anyway, or in public. Behind the scenes, it might be a bit different. But I don't see any weakness there. I don't see Carrick being a yes man. Maybe there'll be evidence in the future that will prove me wrong on that. Maybe he will show himself to be a yes man. But could we give him a chance at the beginning? Could we not assume that he's a yes man? Could we assume that he is his own man and he's got some very distinct ideas about the way he wants to take this club forward? Let's not damn him straight away with the tar of with the accusation that he is a yes man. His appointment is presumably seen as low disruption, and that's probably very important. He knows an awful lot of the players who are there. He knows the club. He knows Carrington. He knows the ethos of Manchester United. And yes, I do believe there is a Manchester United ethos, and I think Carrick is a really great representative of it. Do you remember that midfield partnership he had with Scholes in season 2006-2007? That magnificent season when we won the Premiership again, and Carrick and Scholes were majestic all season as a partnership. Michael Carrick understands Manchester United. Michael Carrick understands Manchester United completely, I feel. I have complete trust in his ability to know the Manchester United way of playing football. And I think in that respect, he'll be much more closely aligned to what fans want to see on the pitch than Ruben Amorim ever was. This is an upgrade, in my opinion, not a downgrade. 464 games for Manchester United. That's pedigree. Did well at Middlesbrough until, at the end it fell apart. But we know management now isn't, or being head coach isn't for life anymore. So those things happen. I think he's an absolute safe pair of hands, which is a compliment, not damning with faint praise. I have a lot of enthusiasm for Michael Carrick's appointment. I think it could turn out to be an excellent one. Let's wait and see. But I don't think he's a yes man at all. The case against? I'm really struggling to think what the case is against in these circumstances. There's absolutely no way we can go out and get a big name manager at this time. I mean, there's been some ludicrous talk about, for example, buying out the contract of the England manager, of the US manager. The idea that we can go out and just swing a wallet around and encourage managers to break their contracts to come to Manchester United mid-season. those days died off decades ago, I think. There's just no way that is going to happen. There is no big manager out there that we would want, unless, of course, we want Real Madrid cast-offs. But I don't think we do. This is a good appointment in the circumstances. I mentioned in my previous video that I think Ruben Amorim had to go. He had to go. So we were going to be in this position, and I think Carrick being appointed in these circumstances makes complete sense. But does who he's brought with him make sense? Now, I've got to be honest with you. If you'd have told me at the beginning of the season that sometime during this season, Jonathan Woodgate would be joining the Manchester United coaching team, I would have thought you were crazy. And I still find it amazing that he is. I think for fans of a certain vintage, Jonathan Woodgate is a bit of a joke character. He played for Leeds, and we all know he had some difficulties when he was playing for Leeds in the courts. Then he went to Real Madrid, and I think was he injured forever at Real Madrid? Went very badly for him at Real Madrid, if I remember correctly. Or perhaps I'm just being a little bit harsh on him there, but it didn't go fully well, did it? Now, the Jonathan Woodgate situation only, of course, makes sense in the context of Carrick and Woodgate working together at Middlesbrough. Otherwise, of course, Jonathan Woodgate wouldn't get anywhere near Manchester United. So, yeah, genuine question marks about that. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But, of course, the appointment which has really raised eyebrows is the appointment of Steve Holland as coach. And, of course, it's so predictable that certain YouTubers yesterday would have used this as an opportunity to go in two-footed and raise the spectre of Gareth Southgate being appointed permanent Manchester United head coach in the summer as a consequence of this. That this in some way is paving the way for Southgate to come, because, of course, Steve Holland was Gareth Southgate's coach when Southgate was manager of England. Is there any chance we could just give Steve Holland credit for his own achievements? Worked at Crewe, learnt his trade at Crewe Alex, which has got an absolutely phenomenal reputation for the development of youth talent. Went to Chelsea, where he gained his reputation as a detailed on-pitch coach, absolutely brilliant at preparation and the development of tactics for individual games. England's number 2 under Southgate. I'm not a fan of Southgate. I think Southgate cost England the Euros in the final against Italy with his pragmatic, risk-averse, negative approach to management. That's not Steve Holland's fault. That's Gareth Southgate's fault. I think England in the Euros were a team that were prepared to win but managed to lose. In which case, I don't think Steve Holland is responsible at all for what happened. I think Gareth Southgate is. And yes, I would be devastated if Gareth Southgate ended up being manager or head coach at Manchester United. But I genuinely don't believe it's going to happen. Because it's become clear, I think, today with the story that came out from James Ducker of The Telegraph on X earlier today, that Carrick personally recommended Steve Holland. This was not a board decision. This wasn't Jason Wilcox going to Michael Carrick and saying, you've got to get Steve Holland because either he's a great coach or we're going to appoint Gareth Southgate as manager in the summer. That's not the way it was at all. So can we put that to one side? The appointment of Steve Holland makes complete sense if you look at the fact that Michael Carrick needs to put together a team to manage and coach Manchester United really, really quickly. There is no time to waste. We're actually in not a bad position in the Premier League. Top 4, top 5, top 6 is still a definite possibility. But it's only a possibility if we don't lose time. So the fact that Steve Holland is really good at his job, is an excellent coach, which Carrick will need, and was available, made him a really good choice. So put aside the Gareth Southgate nonsense. Don't get drawn in. Don't get sucked into that cobblers. Look at Steve Holland for what he is, an absolutely excellent coach. And can we just leave it at that? Let's see what happens. But he's an excellent appointment. Jonathan Woodgate, yeah, my eyebrows are raised, and we'll wait and see. But the one thing I wouldn't say about Jonathan Woodgate is a damn good defender. And one of the things that we've noticed about the team in recent weeks is that where we thought the defence was actually perhaps one of the parts of the team that was actually in a good place, it doesn't seem to be in a good place anymore. We're letting in far too many goals. So maybe Woodgate being part of the coaching staff, bringing his knowledge there along with Johnny Evans, maybe that's actually a really good move. Let's wait and see. But overall, the appointments of Carrick, of Holland, little question mark about Woodgate, but I'm really glad to see Johnny Evans there. This all sounds really good. About Darren Fletcher, obviously it's become known that Darren Fletcher was offered a position in the new setup, but decided to go back to his existing role of managing the under-18s. I think that's an absolutely excellent decision by Darren Fletcher. Really excellent decision. There was no need for him to get involved in the new setup. Darren Fletcher is building up a reputation in the club. I think the next step will be really interesting for him. But, I mean, here's my prediction, and you can clip this and save it for the future. Darren Fletcher will be Manchester United head coach or manager sometime in the future. Absolutely guaranteed, in my opinion. Fletcher knows it. He's working his way towards it. Why burn his chances now in this, what apparently is a temporary setup until the end of the season anyway? Now, he's absolutely right to go back to where he was building a fantastic reputation. Good luck to Darren Fletcher. I hope you do really well. I hope you continue to do well. And I'm looking forward one day perhaps to seeing you as head coach or manager of Manchester United. So I think good decision by Fletcher. So what now? Now that we've got Carrick in position, what now? Well, there's news that Jason Wilcox has set down this target of Manchester United qualifying for Europe this season. And there's been some adverse comment about that. How dare he? The club isn't didn't back Amorim. Looks like it's not going to back Carrick with purchases this January. Let's wait and see about that. I think it's probably true that we won't buy anybody this January, but let's just wait and see. But irrespective, either way, of course, Manchester United have got a chance of finishing in the 4th position or 5th position. They're not far away as it is. Who do they need to clamber over to get there? Well, I don't believe Tottenham are going to get in the top 4 or top 5. I think Newcastle are still too inconsistent to get in the top 4 or 5. I really do. So that means we're looking at Chelsea, we're looking at Liverpool, and we're looking at Aston Villa, because Arsenal and Man City are guaranteed 1 and 2, aren't they? So Chelsea, do you think they're going to be consistent between now and the end of the season? Liverpool, certainly they've improved over recent weeks. But that inconsistency that we saw earlier in the season, I think could come back at any time. Few bad results would certainly push them in that direction. And then there's Aston Villa. There is, I think, these days an over-reliance on statistics in analysing football, and the eye test tends to get a little bit downplayed. But if we believe the stat heads, Aston Villa are at the moment in a position which is hugely elevated compared to their stats. They're in a falsely high position in the league. Now, personal view, I don't think the league tells lies. I think it tells the truth. I think Villa are where they deserve to be. But if what the stats are telling us is that this is a team that's performing right on the very high edge of its capability and managed by a really excellent manager, then how long can they sustain that for? Is there going to be no dip in form coming up? Remember Forest last season? There was a time last season when Nottingham Forest looked like they'd finish in the top four, and at the end of the season it all fell apart. And look where they are now. So at the very least, I think we should be aiming at Chelsea. We should be anticipating perhaps a decline in Villa's fortunes, even marginal, but that would be enough. And Liverpool are not the team they were last season. Forget about Arsenal, forget about City. Villa, Liverpool, Chelsea. Currently occupying 3rd, 4th and 5th. Are we really saying that we can't see United getting amongst the mix there if we put a good run together? If we establish some confidence? Now, we might need to be very, very pragmatic between now and the end of the season. If the goal, and it really does need to be, qualifying for Europe, maybe what we need to acclimatise ourselves to is some really pragmatic performances. Chiseling out wins, however it needs to be done. When we go ahead, changing the formation, making appropriate substitutes, holding on to that lead. Maybe we just need to be pragmatic. I don't know if Michael Carrick is going to be that kind of manager. I genuinely don't know yet. Let's wait and see what happens. But I'd like to think that with Carrick, at the very least what we'll have is a manager that shows more tactical awareness, more ability to be flexible, and a greater focus on holding on to leads and holding on to good positions than Ruben Amorim ever showed. And that's an upgrade, and that's a positive way forward. All the best to Michael Carrick. I genuinely think that Manchester United, under Carrick's leadership, can qualify for Europe. And do you know what? Even if we don't, it would be really nice to go down fighting, trying, wouldn't it? Because whoever becomes the permanent head coach next season, it would be good if they inherited a squad that had at least tried the previous season rather than just meekly given up, which has happened in some recent seasons. Let's not see that again. Let's wish Michael Carrick all the best. So until next time, always be positively united.